Bet you weren't expecting a Rockman 4 themed board game, were you? Rockboard is the first real spin-off of the Rockman series. That's assuming we count the Game Boy games as part of the whole. It's never had any follow-up either. Rockboard stands on its own as a weird outlier. The full title of the game is Wily to Light no Rockboard, That's Paradise. I don't know why it's Paradise, and Wily and Light are definitely not working together. The concept of the game is fairly similar to Monopoly, or even more closely, Itadaki Street. But it adds a lot of very clever twists on the formula. Also, a lot of not so good ideas. Up to 4 players may participate, and when you start up the game, you have to choose which character you're going to play as. Dr. Wily, Dr. Light, Dr. Cossack, Roll, and Kalinka, Dr. Cossack's daughter. Which one you choose doesn't really have any bearing on how the game plays out, but of course I was playing as Dr. Wily. There's also 4 different maps to play on. They all have unique paths and obstacles that you have to deal with. The way the game works is that on your turn, you spin a number 1 to 8 and then move that many spaces. You always progress around the track in the same direction, though there are sometimes forks that will let you take alternate paths. The most common and important tile to land on are properties. These all have values assigned to them, and they vary pretty widely, from 100 to over 1,000. They also don't increase linearly. Cheap and expensive pieces of terrain are mixed together. If you land on a blank tile, then you can purchase it outright and it'll get marked with your color. If you land on a tile that somebody owns, then first you pay rent to the person who owns it, and then you have the option of building on it. That's right, you don't have to own the tile in order to build. If you land on a tile with a building on it, then you divide up your fee among the person who owns the building and the person who owns the land. You can upgrade the buildings a few times, but you have to land on the tile in order to build. Owning or building up property that's side by side greatly increases the cost for someone landing on that piece of real estate. One more trick is that after you pay the fee, you have the opportunity to buy the land or property. Well, assuming you have enough money to cover it. This is extremely expensive, but if you really need a property, you can force someone to sell. There are plenty of other kinds of tiles. The question marks let you draw a card. Some of these cards, like the Eddie ones, have an immediate effect. Other cards, like the Robot Master cards, can be used at the start of your turn. There's a square that will make you lose a turn, and a similar square that, after somebody buys it, will hold Met races that the other players can bet on. The Robot Master tile will turn you into one of the bosses, and you'll remain in that state until you pass the tile again. As a Robot Master, you'll have a special ability that triggers on every turn, can't be affected by cards that other players use, and don't have to pay any rents when you land on a property. But you also can't interact with any tiles that you land on, so no buying anything for you. The E-can is the starting point, and it gives you additional money when you go past it, and sometimes you even get a bonus. At the start of the turn, you have a menu available, and that's where you choose to roll, check out your status, look over the map, use a card, or manage your properties. You actually have a pretty wide range of options for handling the land that you own. You can auction it off to all of the other players, offer to sell it to someone for a price that you set, or even offer to buy someone else's property. There are 3 different ways that you can win a game in Rockboard. You own enough properties, you build enough buildings, or you have enough money. Unfortunately, even though there's 3 victory conditions, it's not really 3 different paths to victory, since having any one of those makes it likely for you to gain the others. It takes about 2 hours to complete a game of Rockboard, and there is no save function in the game, so you have to do that in one sitting. The game doesn't seem to have been very popular in Japan, or at least all of the comments I could find about it were, "I didn't know this game existed until I stumbled across this." My take on Rockboard is complicated. I don't think it's a good game, but at the same time, I see a lot of little things that they did in it to improve the standard formula of a roll and buy game. Having 2 different resources to purchase helps mitigate the problem where your luck on the first few turns basically determines the outcome of the game. But at the same time, it might have gone too far in that direction. because when they stripped out that luck, they added the fact that you have to land on tiles to do anything with them. So you're back to having one lucky break swing the whole game. Initially, it seems that turning a player into one of the robot masters and giving them powers to affect the game is a cool concept, but when you're a robot master, you're not making any progress towards victory. So it's effectively losing 6 or 7 turns as you go around the board again. Letting players force the sale of tiles that they land on means that the board is never locked up, but the way that it scales, it might as well be. There's also a lot of small problems, like the maps having routes that are non-optimal, and thus either horrible places to buy, or requiring luck to get into to buy if you're going for one of those victory conditions. When I'm playing Rockboard, I see that a really good effort was made to be a better board game. I just think that they didn't really succeed at that. Still, it's a good effort. I'd definitely put Rockboard above Monopoly at least.